Hi, my name is Don Marion, and welcome to Alternative Lifestyles. I'm going to be your host for this show, and what we will explore on this show is different lifestyles. We will cover topics such as transvestism, transsexualism, S&M, foot fetish, alien life forms, and anything that you can imagine with fantasies and feelings with the lifestyles that you may choose. Our special guest today is Michael Dolphin Crown. Our topic is Dinokind and disputing the dinosaur theory. Dolphin?
Hello, Don Marion, and thank you for having me on your show.
Okay. Now, exactly what is Dinokind?
All right. Dinokind, basically, and if I may begin with this, is Dinokind is dinosaur as man calls it. Dinosaur, as everyone has grown up with through the years, and if you know children, museums of natural history, the subject of vertebrate paleontology and its science and archaeology, is a bunch of individuals of their time that existed far completely different in my belief, in my feelings, of what they were at their time. And to basically tell you, in interest of my feelings, what this is I'm not going to lie to you and say this is fact. It's not fact. But it's a 30-year quest of my life. I call an energy force of my feelings and my nature about what these type of individuals are. Now, you've all seen skeletons in the museum and such forth, which we'll be showing you further at a close-up shot, depicting the Brontosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and various other of the dinosaur and dinosaura, as the vertebrate paleontology has called it. My obsession with this, as well as my pains and sorrows against these creatures and beings, is that I cannot call them dinosaura, I cannot call them reptiles, I cannot call them dumb animals that go around eating one another, destroying one another, have no functional purpose on the earth whatsoever, was to just bodily waste factors and eat one another and live for no other function, and yet propagate to the entire world where they've been known to be. I'm not going to totally dispute vertebrate paleontology and to some findings, because obviously they've found the bones. They found it and they've so-called put them together, but some selective models of the species and the bone structure of the fossil have not been assembled properly. I'm not going to claim to be a full theologian of the study, of any kind of study of vertebrate paleontology or archaeology, but I will tell you this. There are not only myself, but others like me out there that really in their heart feel the positive side of these creatures, cannot accept them as monsters. I am very, very in pain when I see movies like Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg. Now here's a man who's a genius in his own right, but he makes a beautiful movie like Schindler's List, which is depicting the Holocaust of the Jews and various people that have suffered under the Nazi tragedy of its time. What about other atrocities? What about Dinokind? What about these beings? Do they deserve to be put as monsters created by our own genetic science, rebirthed by adding frog parts, to be put inside a museum, or rather show world like Six Flags Great Adventure or Walt Disney World, to be displayed as monsters? And what if that leads on to making them into genetic monsters of soldiers to fight wars or something? Some other monstrosities that man could possibly think of. No, I say let's take them at a positive force. Let's stop thinking them as monsters and destructive creatures. Let's turn around and say, wait a minute, there's more to these beings. Surely you've seen the positive cartoons, the positive animations, and the positive other ways that depict them. They are not monsters. My feeling, I know there's a lot more like me. I call them Dinokind as using the phrase kind beings of the past. And even though they keep calling them reptiles, let me show you the disputes. How many times have you heard that they've proven from cold-blooded to warm-blooded animals? How many times in the studies, the variations, that they tried to deny that they had two brains? Yes, two brains. Though a pea brain in the skull area, as I will show you over here, the neural net, I will get closer in the following seconds if you'll let me. The neural net that goes down to the body base, near the area of the backbone area, this vast area. And again, they said one heart. Now they say 5 hearts. Truly, very soon, they will announce that not only was it just a pea brain, but the neural net attached to another brain to support the various organs' functions, as well as the various blood and other functions of food, digestive tract, and existence. Then look at the structure of the entire body, right? As you look at all the dinosaur, as they call them, right? How can you say that they had no function? Why is everyone completely different from the other? What, to just get birth, to eat, destroy one another? Surely insanity. As the various cultures and subcultures and races on our planet and the various change of our one species for its purpose. Theirs too was. Their prime directive was farming. If you look at their bodies, those claws and fangs, and the various body parts, it was not to kill, destroy, and maim, but to exist to farm the planet and make it one whole factor in the preparation of man. If you want to mix a little matter with religion and facsimility, then you'll want to know that if the time of Adam and Eve in the religious dialect says forth that it was prepared for mankind and there was a great sin, do you think a God who is pure in his creation would give godly, pure vegetational food and groundings to the humans who've already committed sin or are now of mortal sin, long before the coming of the Son who would cure this and purificate? So these beings were of the flesh and being. They harnessed around the world. They evolved too. Yes, they evolved in their thinking ability and structural eating ability. They created various things in vegetation. All the medicines that we are destroying now in the rainforest, they created. Everything that you could possibly assume on this planet, every medicine, medical factor, natural factor, beyond the Incas, way before the Incas, way before the American Indians, way before the Aztecs, these beings harnessed. And they left it for us, but what do? We destroyed it all, replaced our both religious and planetary natural existence with artificial medical means and such forth that is delayed and time off for more diseases. You got our black plagues coming back, flesh-eating diseases coming back, the cancers are growing more and more, AIDS is well overtaken over the planet, in fact, and the time is to put this to stop. And that's going to be by people like me getting together who love these beings, who do not believe they're monsters or destructive forces, and will work one day to get the facts we need to establish that vertebrate paleontology is wrong, does not have the full story and subject, and this both politically as well as scientifically, religiously, emotionally, and ethically, that these beings, the dino-kind human race, they look something like this with the various skin tones that we have on this planet. This is not a monster. This is not a reptile. This is not a lizard, a dragon. This is not a being that went around doing those things, but a being that also gave us a tree mixed with the DNA. They had DNA way back then. They had their own type cities, though not like our knowledge with brick and stone and mortar. They had their own type knowledge. They lived 1.5 million years. That requires cooperation. That requires working together. That requires systematic existence. If they did go around doing the things that mankind said, they would have even lasted long, because the various diseases that they would have made from the massive rot of meat tissue, bone, blood, and other diseases that would have formed would have wiped them out. And as far as all this Big Bang nonsense, how do we know that wasn't a giant ship that left the planet? The tar pits. Look at the way they're formed on the planet's structure and everything. They say geology, it's natural. How do we know it wasn't caused by massive matter alterations of vehicles lifting off the planet with these huge dino-kind? I believe that not only are they not extinct, with the bones that have not been found to captivate the amount that they say that there were many millions of years, but I also believe that they're on another planet, they've left this world, and that they will be returned to Earth. Sure, it sounds fictional, sure, it sounds fantasies, but give it a theoretical study and possibility. It's never been looked on that they could have been intelligent beings in advance and left. They never gone into the deepest mysteries of the positive side of these beings. Give dino-kind a chance. Relate to them, show your aspects with them, and I want you to study anyone out there who understands the possibility of these beings being a very positive nature. Not only do I love them very much, I'm going to tell you something, you may call me crazy and you may call me insane, but my energy feelings about these beings that I've loved very much, and mind you, if anybody knows me very much, back in the 70s, I was always thrown out of the Museum of Natural History. Everyone from Dr. Gaffney, who is now the head curator, knows me. I've even given him a secret tape, which I bet he's probably lost. It held an entire dialect studies of my dino-kind feelings. Yes, 30 years of my life, my entire life alone. I've not seeked out a mate or married. I've not been into any type of human sexuality or emotional feelings other than brotherhood, sisterhood, my belief in the united earth, the united Eden earth of God, and one planet joined with the Intergalactic Council. But I've also in my heart and feelings with my dear friends who stand beside me and those that haven't, that this work will come concluded with these beings not only returning to Earth, trying to assist us, but leaving us with a whole new outlook in our species and our way that we are too, a united species of the planet that must go beyond color, culture, and religion, and must rebuild the earth, rebuild the waters, and then move to the stars. As we speak right now, I've just heard a movie on CNN, a late telecast that a Tyrannosaurus rex bone structure was found in Vancouver, Canada, and the way that it was laying was surrounded in a structure that looked like it had some sort of housing structures. You check your report on this day on 6:30 CNN. The time I viewed the telecast was about 13:35 p.m. And you will see, and check on the various other things, little by little, you're going to see more and more of the lower dinosaur studies going down, and the more and more positivities of both science and various peoples getting together to prove that these beings had the ability to do the positive things they did, left for the reasons they did, and during both our evolutionary and seeding possibly by other worlds to make the various changes in our natural DNA as well as our unnatural DNA for the populace of this planet and where it's supposed to go in the future, which will not be extinction of the species. We will come out as either by ourselves or with other help. But they will return, mark my words. They will not harm. One more thing. This thing I'm tired. Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl. It is not pterodactyl. I call it a star child. Flying above the stars for the very purpose. Why? It had a purpose too. And its different shapes. When Dinokind were first starting off, I believe, they had to go to various desert regions and various hard times with some sick. Yes, some died. Some got accidentally murdered maybe by accidental homicide other than an actual pre-attempt. But I believe that the Star Child purpose was to remove vegetarian food from one area of the plant that they have farmed, bring it to the other area where they've made the seeding and egg bed areas, where they've taken care in the nurseries for the children, and together their purpose of communication was a collective conscience. As you've said and seen in UFO reports that are now coming out, back then the Dinokind people had collective conscience. They had brainwave communication of higher point than any theta or beta waves that we know right now in a much stronger extent from the lower large brain to the smaller upper brain for the navigational and ballast of the body. Even of the Stegosaurus, which once the vertebrate paleontologists agreed had two brains, I assure you they all had two brains. It is a united species, it is a species with purpose, and it's time to put them up and stop putting them down. Mr. Don Marion, one thing I'd like to tell you, as I've told you, and Mr. Don Marion, the host of this show, knows, that I've spoken in the past. He knows me in my study of Dinokind. Am I agreed with that?
That's correct.
All right, and in his past studies, have you ever seen me, and many witnesses will agree, and friends and family, not just because they are such, have you ever seen me take this in a phony or unethical or joking manner?
No, not at all.
Have you ever seen me ever be very happy when I see movies like The Flintstones, Godzilla, Jurassic Park, Flintstone crap, excuse my pain, I am hurt. But have you ever seen me ever laugh or agree with those type of things?
No, you were totally disgusting.
All right. And I am an educated man. I've worked all my life. I have no criminal record. I've been in law enforcement. I've art. I'm in sciences, electronics. And I have this energy feeling deep in my heart to build this device, which I believe, using both hermetic knowledge and new higher scientific knowledge of data wave neural transmission devices, will help me communicate with not just the extraterrestrial, but the Dinokind people themselves. And they will come here. I will love them, work to them as their ambassador, and risk my life for them. Thank you very much, Don Marion.
Okay, that was a pretty long opening statement from Mr. Crown. Now, I would like to zoom in on all of these photos that you brought and drawings. We'll do that right now.
And I'll give a further detail of the explanation of the close nature of the film. Ladies and gentlemen, in the closing segment of my speaking and analytical study of the Dinokind species, as I've called them, as you've been aware with us, this particular one I'm showing you right here. This goes into the energy feeling of what I've known by them and how I grasp the energy of what they are and who they are. Call it psychic ability, call it deep insights or whatever. But I believe this is kind of like a look of what the females look like. Both in standing structure, this type one is called Allosaurus by mankind. I give this one name of Guanji, a nice female name of a love-type individual of positive force, who by decorative headdress of flowers, which I believe they did their bodies because of their vegetarian such, and the matter-producing type clothing if they needed it for dress, though it was not as unevasive as we do with our clothing to make sure that we're in dress or we consider embarrassment. but their type dress factor was mostly for decorative type purposes, or if they needed a cleansed sterile area for their type of work or research or constructions. This particular individual female who I like very much, who I'd like to meet when she comes to Earth, who I believe will help me in my ambassador type studies. Her name is Guanji. When she does return, if my mission and my work is complete, then you will see on your own part that these beings are not only going to help us out, they are kind-loving, but they will be very good friends to us. They will not be able to live with us, no doubt, of the overcrowding of our planet, but help us to colonize and move away from our negative ways and become very good friends, brothers and sisters with us. At this time, I'm going to ask Don Marion. He's going to give me a couple of questions at the closing segment of the show, and I want to thank you very much for your understanding. Thank you.
Yes, so Mr. Crown, exactly what do you think of the new movie that will be coming out shortly with Whoopi Goldberg called T-Rex? Do you think it will have a positive influence on Dinokine?
At this time, I've not got a chance to totally study, check the script, check anything written by critics or such forth on the movie. But for what my personal beliefs are, from what I've heard about the rumors of it, it shows this Dinokine being, even though using the name Dinosaur, which I am not liking whatsoever, shows that it's an intelligent individual detective who supposedly comes to the future by their own technology and assists Whoopi Goldberg in a mystery analyzing and solving a crime or a mystery related to a crime where the detective type use is needed.
How tall are they actually? How tall are these Dinokine?
Dinokine at the time period ranged anywhere from the smallest of 6 to 5 feet, could have been as high as 100 feet. But through the courses of the centuries and on the new planet and gravitational changes of the new world and evolution, they are now no more bigger than between 5 to 8 feet.
What is their lifespan? How long do they usually live?
Proper care and concern of the natural way of eating and working ability and communication, kindness, and the positive aspect that they have existed, I estimate they could probably live as much as 200 years, or as long as the DNA calendar lock in the body allows.
Do you think they will be visiting us shortly?
Yes, and the hope aspects of not just me and my type theories of the machine I will be building of communication with them on the intellectual and meditation type thinking, but also on various other people who would be building ships and ideas to communicate with other worlds, will also sooner or later run into their galaxy and communicate to them, and they will return to our world to try and help and communicate to us.
Do they usually have large families or small families?
By the breeding ability and the close family control, and yes, they do have family planning of their own. They do have maybe between 2 and 4 children. They keep the family growth factor within the limit of the food ability, and they look after the community as one, and they keep everything balanced, and they stay breeding for life. I mean, the male and female are together, and there's no inbreeding like there's ever been practiced here, and it's very carefully, sex is kept within the marriage, and family growth is teaching the children young to grow up properly to handle themselves in life.
How is the crime rate on the planet?
Their crime factors were none of our type of human. They had no crimes whatsoever. They didn't think of a negative type of a greed factor, violence, or whatever. It wasn't their emotional ability. I can understand at certain points of heavy stress factor that could be, but it was not really in the case with Dinokine humans. As I call them, a human in their own way. If we know what the meaning of human is, it's their kindness of existence.
Well, would you like to add anything in your closing statements to the public about Dinokine, and so they can relate to that in the future?
Yes, Don Marion, I would. I would just like to know anybody out there who's ever even thought, followed in magazines, movies, periodicals, or whatever, or anything getting into the study, would like to call me. I can be reached at a phone number, 1-718-721-4616. Serious inquiries only, whether you're in the science or not. Thank you very much.
Okay, again, thank you, Michael Dolphin Crown. Thanks for being our guest. In the future, we'll be presenting many more different lifestyles. Join us every week, Friday nights, 1 a.m., Channel 17. I'm your host, Don Marion. Thank you for viewing. Bye-bye.